Welcome into Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast presented by BetMGM. Brendan Glasheen joined by Charlie DiSturco and Anthony DiBundo for Friday Best Bets. You can hear Best Bets every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday mornings during the regular season. So subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts and find us. Also, video version, Action Network, YouTube. We have another giveaway celebrating 200 episodes of Payoff Pitch. And now at this point, I think we're just in a giving mood. Incarvite 7, INCARVITE 7. You're a winner. Email podcast@actionnetwork.com to claim your prize. We'll continue with giveaways. So if you haven't left us a 5-star rating and review, go do that for a chance to win a free 1-year subscription. 1 year, that's pretty good. 1-year subscription to Action Pro, or you get the choice for some Action swag. It's a bittersweet day on Payoff Pitch. May 10th. I almost said May 8th. May 10th. We are saying goodbye to one of our own. Anthony DiBundo has been a part of this podcast since we launched this thing a couple years ago. DiBundo, we kind of teased this on Tuesday. Please, the floor is yours. You've got some big news. I think it's fine. You can share where you're going to go and what your final thoughts on being part of this with us and everything at Action Network.
Yeah, it's been an incredible ride. I gave a goodbye on Wonder Goal and said goodbye to Leboff and BJ Cunningham and how much I'm going to miss them and how, that was my first family at Action. Well, this is like my second family, the Payoff Pitch crew. We've had so much fun on this show between, the bits that we've developed and the jokes about stuff and my habits of morning beverage consumption and whatnot. And a lot of making fun of each other and back and forth and
a lot of weather talk,
the weather talk, the wind. I mean, all the little things that kind of make this fun, because let's be honest, when you're betting baseball, it's a lot of numbers. It can be a lot of droning on about expected stats and talking about, totals moving 8 cents and all that stuff. And it's not the most exciting listen all the time. So it was really fun to try to make it interesting, to try to have fun with this, to teach people about baseball, to have people think differently about the sport. I'll miss that. My new role, I'm still going to be in content, but I'm not sure. We'll see how much baseball I'm actually doing in my new role. That's still very undetermined, but I've got 10 days off coming up before I start. And I'm enjoying some time off by watching more baseball. I'm going to New York next week, going to be at some Phillies games. So I'll still be betting. I'm still going to use the app a bunch. I'm a better first and I'm a fan of Action Network for life. But it will be bittersweet not showing up on this pod, twice a week, which we've done for the last few years. And I'm especially going to miss it come playoff time when I think we had some of our most fun episodes kind of diving into literally like out by out how certain teams are going to plan their pitching staff for the night. It was a lot of fun. And you guys have made this a great environment. So thank you. And with that, let's get into the show because there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today.
Okay. That was good. You pivoted from yourself and you want to talk about the show. That's good. We're going to miss DiBundo. He's done a great job here. We wish him the best of luck and he'll announce where he's going and all that jazz. So now that DiBundo's leaving, we want to make the show better. So that was a joke, but it's also important news. I said off the top that we're Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, which is still basically true. It will be coming even earlier on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. We've been doing our show records on the day of slates in the mornings. So we're retooling a bit, making the adjustment. We're going to start our records now the night before to get the podcast out to all the listeners even sooner. So make sure you are subscribed. And starting next week, these episodes will be in your inbox by the time you wake up. So I think just to drive the point home, we'll be getting together, except DiBundo, Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays to then be released on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Mm-hmm. So that will be, I'm interested to see how that goes because of, teams having bullpen days or what lines are available, et cetera, et cetera. Player props, Charlie. So we'll see how it goes. We'll get going on that starting next week, but there is an opportunity, I think, to get some better prices. And also if people are up late, if you're a night owl, they might very well be available for you. So that's for next week. We'll start up Sunday night into Monday. So looking forward to that. Big slate, 15 gamer. No Cubs today. That would have been a real send-off. A Cubs afternoon game for Anthony DiBundo, but that is not the case today. They all get started. The first game starts at 6:40, 15 game slate. DiBundo, why don't you go first? You got a best bet for us today.
The Cubs are of high interest this weekend, though, at Jared Jones and at Paul Skenes the next 2 days, the two stud rookies for Pittsburgh. But my best bet is a combo. I got Seattle minus 142 at home against Oakland, and I've got Brian Wu over 5.5 strikeouts minus 110. Wu is one of the three guys that I wrote about in my slate breakdown opening pitch. Three guys making their season debut. So Wu, started the year on the injured list, and he had a really impressive rehab stint with AAA. So 11 innings, 16 strikeouts, didn't walk a single batter. Really encouraging. And if you look back at Wu's numbers last year, 25% strikeout rate is the projected number for him this year. I think it might be low. If you look at some of his stuff, the fastball stuff plus is not overwhelming, but it's deceptive, and it clearly had gotten the better of a lot of hitters last year. He's got a really deep arsenal. The sweeper is really underrated. He's been using the sinker to try to stay in the park more, which doesn't help his strikeout numbers, but he still projects for over a strikeout per inning for me. So he threw 67 pitches in the last rehab outing. He's probably going to only throw 80 to 85. So, the high end strikeout totals are probably off the table for him. But at 5.5, if he throws 5 innings, he goes over this number way more often than not. So I like over 5.5 for him. And, Oakland's bullpen is probably the most improved unit in all of baseball year over year. They were historically bad this year. Now with Miller and some other guys they found, they're an above average bullpen. That has kept them in games, but Seattle still has the pitching advantage in the first 5 innings here for sure. Paul Blackburn actually had the longest scoreless inning streak to start the season in all of baseball. That is, obviously fallen off now, and we've seen kind of at this point in his career what Paul Blackburn is, becoming a bit of like a lengthy journeyman. His K rate has declined year over year, back down to 18%, which is closer to what he usually is. 12% strikeout minus walk rate, considerably worse than Wu, who projects around 18, 19%. So I think I've got the lineup edge. I've got the starting pitcher edge. I'm willing to lay the minus 142 on Seattle.
All right. Very good. Paul Blackburn starting for Oakland, by the way. So in a position, because there weren't many games Thursday. We come into these Friday slates, and there's not many games on Thursday. So that's a rested bullpen for Oakland. And that's been their strength, right? That's been why they're in it. They're in it for their standards. They're in it. Charlie DeSturco, go to the player prop market for us on this Friday, May 10th. What do you got? Best bet.
Yeah, 777s will be out probably when the episode gets released as well. So there's a couple of guys. I have 2, but my favorite one of the 3 right now is Austin Riley, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI at a near pick'em right now. I believe it's minus 115, 120. He's a guy that if you've been following me in the app, I've been betting on plenty of times over the last couple of weeks. And the at-bats have been great. He just hasn't really been, finding the bleachers as much. A lot of hard hit balls, a lot of higher expected, batting average on these balls in play, but it just hasn't come to fruition. And it's a great matchup tonight. Obviously against Jose Quintana, a near 6 expected ERA, ranks in the bottom 2% of pitchers in expected batting average, which is right around 320. He's like the definition of just a soft tosser that can't force strikeouts and relies on inducing soft contact or timely ground balls. The issue is that his hard hit rate is up 10% from last season. And it's the second worst of his career if you take out the 30 pitches he threw and got hurt a few years back too. So all of this just culminating, and I think, it'll be an interesting Mets-Braves series, but I think this one is one that the Braves should be able to absolutely eviscerate Quintana and Riley, given his spot in the order at the 3-hole, with Acuna and Albies in front of him, should have plenty of RBI opportunity. With Olsen and the way that Ozuna's hitting behind him, he'll have plenty of runs scored opportunity. So you put that all together and look at Riley's just underlying metrics in general, a 50% hard hit rate and, still a high barrel rate. It's only a matter of time before this guy with 3 home runs and has a career of, 35 plus multiple seasons is going to hit and go on a tear. So I think this is a great buy low spot in the bottom of the market with him. He's hitting the ball harder. He's hitting the ball in the air more. It's only a matter of time before all that leads to more success. So over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for me. And I'll also be sprinkling on his home run, which is right around plus 460.
Let's decide if we're going to fade the public today. The public is down on Mr. Lance Lynn and the struggling St. Louis Cardinals. They visit the Milwaukee Brewers. Lance Lynn on the mound, taking on Robert Gasser in the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers are minus 130 on the money line. Totals at 8.5 in this game. Lance Lynn is still walking guys. He's got 16 walks and 35 plus innings now throughout the year. What about you, DeBundo? Are you with the people here? Do you want to? Is the line short enough on Milwaukee to play Milwaukee right now at this stage, or is there another way to play it?
I'm close on Milwaukee, but I actually like the over in the first 5 more. I just have a few too many questions about Robert Gasser. So he makes his major league debut tonight. He has not pitched in the majors yet. Comes up from AAA. He was a big part of their prospect haul, and he's one of their top-rated pitching prospects. And I generally trust Milwaukee. They tend to find these pitchers out of nowhere and turn them into really impressive stuff. I mean, remember Corbin Burns was like not a highly touted prospect, and then all of a sudden Milwaukee develops him into a superstar. But I just don't really trust him because the Stuff Plus numbers are not that good. 94 is the projected Stuff Plus based on his minor league data. You know, the command isn't that good. It's average command. And his 2 best pitches are the slider and the cutter, which is encouraging because a lot of times you see these guys come up from the minors. They have like maybe a good fastball and 1 good breaking ball. And then if it's like a sweeper, they can't get lefties out. And we've seen that a lot this year and last year, even with some guys I bet on just getting nuked by opposition hitters on the other side of the platoon split. But Gasser does have a good cutter and a good slider. So that's the reason to be encouraged about him. But again, you know, the stuff isn't that good. And the command is closer to like 9% walk rate projections and 4 walks per 9. That's like borderline for me. It's clearly below average. So I think that there's still enough questions about Gasser that I'm not going to back him here. And in fact, I think he might have some trouble early on as he adjusts. And Lance Lynn, his walks are up. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that stuff is just continuing to get worse. So his Stuff Plus overall 82 this year, the lowest strikeout minus walk rate he's had since 2017. The strikeout rate lowest since then too. And it's, you know, when you only have 1 above average pitch and you're throwing all these sinkers and cutters and fastballs that aren't that good anymore, instead of whiffs, now you're getting foul balls. And then eventually you miss and you walk guys. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing with Lynn this year, where, you know, even though his xERA is a half run lower than it was last year, he is not giving up quite as many homers. I don't really believe it. I think that the decline in strikeout minus walk rate kind of suggests that there's going to be more trouble for Lynn too. So I like over 4.5 in the first 5 up to 110, minus 110. Both bullpens, neither used any high leverage guys last night. It was a pretty comfortable Milwaukee win. They won 7-1, led most of the way. So I don't think the bullpens will be too taxed here. So I do like this game to slow down late. St. Louis's bullpen is underrated, I think. As much as they've struggled as a team, they've lost 5 in a row. Now Wilson Contreras is down for a while. They, as a team, have a pretty good bullpen. So I'll go first 5 over 4.5.
And a similar sentiment from you, Charlie. Kind of good on the side here, but the full game total you're okay with.
Yeah, you know, I kind of echo everything that DeBundo says. I don't have an actual play on this game, but I do have some concerns with Gasser as well. Just look at his numbers leading into this game in the minors, an ERA above 5 in his 3 starts there. Even his career, though, right around 4. So it's not like he has overpowering stuff and has struggled at times. And, you know, even with the Cardinals, you know, lefty heavy lineup, I still think that they should be able to at least get to, you know, most prospects when they come up, they're not going to dominate like Jared Jones or some of the other guys that we've seen come up this season that are higher prospects. But yeah, just anytime Lance Lynn's pitching, I'm looking toward the over. Just gets barreled a ton. His expected ERA, obviously, Anthony mentioned it's still down about a half run, but it's still a run higher his expected ERA than actual right now. He, even with the slight improvements, he's still a below average arm. So, you know, Milwaukee's offense has been playing a lot better, and they're hitting a lot of power too, and that kind of coincides with the high barrel rate that Lynn gives up. It could lead to a lot of trouble. So lean Milwaukee, lean the over, but ultimately not betting this one.
Yeah, I mean, we had 135 innings last year of Gasser at AAA, 3.79 ERA. Fine, you know, not pretty good strikeout numbers, but again, the walks were an issue. So I think there's a huge gap right now, bigger than normal between AAA and major leagues as well.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that in some of these rookies that are coming up and getting pretty well cooked, especially the hitters, their first go at the big leagues. You're seeing more struggles than maybe normal. Whereas a couple of years ago, there were so many guys who just came up and popped right away. Not quite the same right now. So That applies to pitchers too, and they can apply to pitchers too. We've seen some guys, Jared Jones is of course, and Christian Scott looked good in his first outing. There's other guys that fit that, but even the projections, like the bat has Gasser for a 4.57 ERA. That's like pretty close to what you'd have Lance Lynn projected at this point in his career, maybe a little worse. So, if I had to bet aside, if you made me bet aside, I would take Milwaukee, lay the minus 134, but not quite good enough for me to lay the juice there.
Yep.
Okay. And the BetMGM's got Milwaukee at minus 115 right now on the money line. Totals at 8.5.
That is short.
So money's poured in on, or I guess early on St. Louis.
Okay.
I would lay 115. In fact, when we get off the show, if it's still up, I'm going to play minus 115.
All right. Riding with the public. Very good.
Go public. I'm never afraid to bet against St. Louis. St. Louis and Toronto continue to get this market respect that I don't really agree with. Every day. I think I'd make more money betting baseball if I just woke up and said, you know what? Cardinals opponent money line, Blue Jays opponent money line, call it a day, and see how I do at the end of the year.
Okay. Well, we'll let us know.
And also, we're going to talk about another team right now who I think is a buy for the rest of the season.
Please, because I think win total, which they've turned it around. They got the White Sox, and they got their revenge on the White Sox. The Tampa Bay
And the
Rays.
Mets. They beat the Mets. That's all. They beat the Mets.
They did. No, they did. They did. You're right. Before that,
yeah,
right,
they
yes.
swept
I'm
the
sorry.
Mets because Edwin Diaz gave a 3-2 home run to Randy Arozarena in the bottom of the ninth.
Yep.
Don't forget future MVP Ben Rortvedt with the walk-off triple.
It's the slow knife.
Was it Warford? I thought it was DeLuca. I don't even know.
It might have been DeLuca. I think it was
Yankees Rays, Tampa a home dog in this spot with Clark Schmidt pitching for New York. Bradley's pitching for Tampa. Rays are a short dog, and DeBundo, you're interested. Why?
Yeah, this is a fun matchup. So Taj Bradley makes his season debut.
Yeah.
It's the theme of the day. So these two guys are two of the more interesting pitchers to kind of talk about because I talk about platoon splits. Clark Schmidt, all of last year, was excellent against righties. And every time he faced a lefty, it was a disaster. And last season, the fact that he only really had the fastball sweeper meant that the lefties crushed him. Gave up a bunch of homers, a bunch of doubles. The short porch in right field did him no favors. He had some real issues. 875 OPS last season. Now, Schmidt has developed the cutter, the Yankee special. They give guys cutters. They hope that they work. That's part of their pitching development plan. The cutter has been pretty successful so far this year. It's still small of a sample, but his platoon splits are pretty much gone. So that would be really encouraging for Clark Schmidt. If he figured out how to get lefties out, he can kind of take a step forward as a pitcher. Taj Bradley has the opposite problem. His fastball is elite, one of the best fastballs in all of the sport. For starters, his last rehab outing was really encouraging. 6 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, only 1 walk. So encouraging for the Rays righty. He's got the curveball and the splitter as his primary secondaries, which actually means he's great against lefties and has problems against righties. So lefties had a 678 OPS against Bradley last year. Righties, 946 against Taj. And the cutter that he tries to use against the righties, 581 slug. So I'm a little concerned about Bradley in this matchup because the Yankees can run a ton of righties out on him and make it a problem. But from an overall perspective, I still like Tampa at plus 115, plus 120. I also like the under 8.5 because I'm a believer in both of these pitchers. That they're kind of figuring some things out. And I think Bradley, we haven't seen the cutter this year yet at the major league level. So if he's improved it, that would be huge. And he is one tweak away from being an incredibly effective pitcher. And he's got a high floor because of just how good that fastball is. So Rays have a bit of a pitching advantage here, I think, early. And at home, I think they're worth it. Eno Saris had an interesting metric came up the other day. You're able to now track how hitters have fared against certain stuff and which hitters have faced the best stuff this year. If you look at the leaderboard, the top 15 hitters in baseball on how much great stuff have you faced. So like maybe you ran good for like 3 weeks and you faced Lance Lynn 10 times. And then instead you got some other guy who saw Jared Jones twice and then saw Corbin Burns and then saw Zach Wheeler. Well, naturally, like, yeah, we look across the whole season, you can say, hey, it probably will even it out. But in a 1 month sample, the Tampa Bay offense has faced the best stuff in baseball, not even close. And if you look at individual hitters, Rosarena, Paredes, Harold Ramirez, all rank in the top 15, Yandy Diaz as well, top 15 in stuff plus face this year. So I think the Rays offense, which has been really bad, has faced incredible pitching all year. The Rays pitching, which has been up and down, is finally getting healthy because Bradley is in the rotation now, and Shane Baz is in AAA, making rehab starts, so he's close. Pepio picked up an injury, but I think he'll be back. Springs is looking at like a July return from his injury last year, so I think you're getting close to the time to buy Tampa futures. I don't think they can win the division because I think the Yankees and the Orioles had too much firepower. The problem is, how do you want to play them? Because I don't really want the division odds, but I also don't know that they could make a World Series run. But I think that's probably your best bet. So National American League pennant, or if you can find like a live win total market, I like the overs on Tampa. I think we're getting to the point now where they've had a 500 start ish, and now is the time where we said this preseason. They just need to get to the point in the middle of the year where they start to get their guys back, and they're going to start to turn this. I think Tampa's going to have a run at some point in the summer. And I want to get ahead of it. So I like Tampa today. I like the under today, 8.5. And I like Rays futures are starting to become intriguing to me.
Live win total number 81.5 over. Yeah.
Love it. They'll have a winning record.
It was 80.5 before, after Mets and before White Sox.
Well, the market had to bump them up after taking out the juggernaut
Sure.
New York Mets.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
But Charlie, you like the Rays today too, but you're so confident in Bradley's return that it's a first 5 play.
Yeah, DeBundo kind of just stole my thunder going on for that there.
His
But I
day.
mean, it is his final episode, so I'm gonna bet everything he says because usually you leave with a bang. But
that's already crossed my mind too.
Yeah,
It's scaring the crap out of me.
He did it on Dinger Tuesday. He's probably gonna do it again today. But listen, Taj Bradley, obviously, DeMundo talked about how good his stuff is. Eno Saris also tweeted out a couple days ago of the top guys when it comes to stuff plus in the minor leagues leading up to the point that he tweeted it. And the top 4 were Nick Pivetta, who obviously great big league pitcher that's finding a ton of success the last couple of years. Paul Skenes, who we'll talk about soon, but obviously making his MLB debut tomorrow. And then Kyle Bradish, and then Taj Bradley. So if you listen to Payoff Pitch, Pivetta, Bradish, 2 names that everyone's been buying the last year plus. Paul Skenes is obviously a name that is so popular in baseball right now and all the analytics. And then it's Taj Bradley, 4th in stuff plus, has the elite strikeout numbers, the elite swing and miss stuff. Last year, even in the minor leagues, he was hit hard. It didn't matter if he was in the minors or the majors. He was still figuring out all his stuff. You knew that everything was elite. But I think this year we're finally seeing him take that step. Obviously a limited sample size, but now fully healthy, now getting back on the right track. Like Anthony said, a good time to buy the Rays offense. And Clark Schmidt, I think he's like above average slightly, but like, a mid-4 expected ERA, doesn't generate many chases. I don't know if his strikeout numbers will remain this high, but in general here, I just pound for pound, Bradley's better than Clark Schmidt. I think that the offensive discrepancy obviously favors the Yankees, but over the first 5 at plus 120, I have to buy the Rays here. I'm staying away from the bullpens because if you look at just bullpen success rate, and you would think that maybe some positive regression would come for Tampa, but they're dead last in xFIP, in WAR, in every metric, and the Yankees are top 10 in WAR, and they're around league average in xFIP. So just not fully trusting this Tampa bullpen that has looked shaky at times, and looking to just buy Bradley over Schmidt. So that's why I went first 5 as opposed to the full game.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say, we had the same conversation, I think it was last year, where the first month the Rays bullpen sucked. Like they were like bad, like kind of what Charlie just said. Do we really think that's going to last? I kind of think like they always magically turn 2 guys into stars by like July. So they'll, I think, turn the bullpen around too. And once their bullpen is closer to league average, they'll be fine.
Yeah, long term, I'm not that worried. I just today, with the Yankees offense.
Well, Fairbanks is down. It's not great without him.
Having Soto, having Judge, and I just rather just get him once or twice through the order, maybe 3, and
Solid
cross my
day.
fingers.
Yeah. 3 weeks ago, Clark Schmidt against the Rays at home at Yankee Stadium, 5 1/3, 7 hits, 1 run, no walks, 7 strikeouts.
Yeah, I mean the strikeout rate is up to 27%. I
Yeah.
kind of think the true talent's somewhere between 22 and 27.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's like a 27 guy. I think he's closer to like 24, 25, which is good. Like Charlie said, he's good, but he's not as good. His ceiling's much lower than Bradley too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, final bets. One more from each of you, and then we will do a handicap of Mr. Paul Skenes, who, again, is pitching not today, not on Friday. He's pitching Saturday, but DeBundo's got thoughts. So does Charlie. Paul Skenes making his debut against Justin Steele, Pirates and Cubs tomorrow. But final bet for you, DeBundo, looking at a total.
Yeah, I'm going to go Atlanta Mets over 8. Don't mind the first 5 over either. Because I do like both of these bullpens this year. The Mets with Diaz back. I know he blew a game the other day, but their bullpens clearly benefited from his return, and they've pushed some other guys down the leverage chart. And Ottavino's been pretty good, and Garrett's been pretty good. So I'm buying the Mets bullpen, and so that's maybe why I should just play F5 here. But I did play the full game already and put it in the app at 8. So continue to be a Charlie Morton skeptic. He looked okay in his last outing, got through it, but the swing and miss fastball is just not there anymore. And you can see that in his numbers. And as a result, I think he's vulnerable. His strikeout rate is down. Swinging strike rate is down. It's closer to, I said this last week, it's like Pirates Charlie Morton now with him. So I have my questions about Morton and Quintana. You can only kind of get away with the approach he had for so long. And I think this year with the command not being nearly as good, you're seeing that the stuff has never been that good. And so if you don't have that plus command working the edges, you're going to get crushed. And that's what you're seeing from Jose. So I think the Braves offense, which is always mash lefties, will mash tonight. And I think this is like a 6-3 kind of game.
Okay. And that bodes well, I think, for Austin Riley, Charlie, for today. You've got one more, and this is another tease at your 777s write up.
Yeah, heading out to fade Cole Irvin. Christian Walker over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI minus 115. Another guy that when I was looking at underlying metrics, Walker's numbers are really impressive when it comes to barrel rate. It's right around 18%. When it comes to expected WOBA, he's in the top 3% of all hitters. His hard hit rate has jumped by double digits this past season to last. So all this is happening, and then he only has, a 111 ISO against left-handed pitching, despite the last 2 years being, in the 3 to high 2s, low 3s of isolated power. So I think positive regression is coming for Christian Walker against Cole Irvin. He sees lefties well. He does have like a 300 batting average. The extra base power just hasn't come to fruition. Think that changes here. Think the D-backs have a great matchup against Irvin. Irvin's another guy like Quintana, doesn't generate swings and misses, doesn't strike out that many players, relies on ground balls, relies on weak contact. He has been getting more ground balls than Quintana, but he is not generating weak contact as well. So his expected ERA nearly a run higher. I think that with his high barrel rate and everything you see all together in this matchup, I think the D-backs offense, they hit lefties really well. I think Christian Walker in that middle of the lineup is due for a big day. He hasn't hit a home run since April. So, we're pushing 10 days now. It's a guy that hit, 35 plus homers, has that type of potential. So buying in on him while he's not crushing lefties for extra bases right now. I think his over 1.5 hits, runs, RBI is cheap in the market, and I'll be dabbling on his home run as well.
Shout out 610. Shout out Montgomery County, Pennsylvania.
Norristown, PA.
Christian Walker. Great stuff.
It's a full circle moment. I'm betting.
Yes.
A PA guy.
Yeah, I went to school with his sister. We're
big
big fans of the Walkers in this town.
Love it. Okay, let's wrap with this. We will tease tomorrow's game. There is a line out. Cubs are basically even money, minus 115 tomorrow.
Man, that's crazy.
Justin Steele made his return.
Justin Steele, is he better than Skenes? Probably, right?
Right now.
Okay, so then how's the line?
Right now, yeah, maybe.
The Cubs have the better offense, and they have the better starter.
Right? Steele's probably back to his full workload. He pitched 70 last game, his debut.
Yeah, 68 pitches Monday, coming back from the injury. 4 2/3, 3 hits, 1 walk, only struck out 2. in a 6-3 loss to the Padres Monday. So Steele's making his second start since the coming back from injury. And then we've got the much anticipated debut of Paul Skenes, which, by the way, is a podcast host of many sports here at Action Network. I've heard so much about this freaking guy, and now he's finally pitching. So now I'm curious to see as to what it looks like. So, DeBundo, why don't you give us your lead thoughts here on the debut of Paul Skenes of the Pittsburgh Pirates tomorrow?
I mean, I think we should just talk about the stats, right? I mean, 27 innings.
That's all we got, right?
In
Basically.
AAA, and in those 27 innings, you want to guess how many strikeouts he had since you haven't been following him that closely, Glasheen?
27 innings. How many strikeouts? 55.
Okay, not quite that much. 45.
that's
all right.
That
was
inning.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty crazy though. ERA 0.9. He allowed 17 total hits and 8 walks. So look, if you pull up the stuff numbers, Charlie mentioned it, top 5 stuff plus. The thing that's impressed me with Skenes has been the command, because it's been really good. And that is the thing that can set him apart from some of these other guys that came up as flamethrowers. Grayson Rodriguez is a guy who came up last year as a highly touted pitching prospect with 4+ pitches, but he had the tipping problem, then he had the command problem, and then he got crushed for a couple months as a result, and then had to go down, came back, and now he's very good. Now he's injured, of course, but very good. The thing, Skenes, from like a medium to long-term perspective, there's a lot of Steven Strasburg comparisons. I see it in the delivery. It's like very comparable. People have done like the freeze frames of the guys pitching and saying, like, should we be worried about Paul Skenes' elbow? At some point, yeah, probably. But in terms of Saturday, the guy throws 100 pretty consistently. He has this new pitch he's throwing. It's like the Duran Splinker, and it's insane. I watched some of his last AAA outing, and that pitch, I think, is what separates him, because he comes up with the fastball and the slide or sweeper. Very good. But if he throws that splinker effectively, now he has an answer for lefties. He has plus command and elite stuff. It's hard to see how this doesn't go well. That being said, there's going to be so much helium. I mean, we used to bet Jared Jones overs at 4.5 on the strikeout totals, 5.5. Now he's up at 6.5 today, juiced over 134. I think Skenes might just start 6.5 by the time this goes off tomorrow against a Cubs lineup that doesn't strike out a ton, although there is more swing and miss in the current version of the Cubs with Suzuki out and some other injuries. I may play Skenes under small at post in strikeout markets, just because I think that the gap, like I said before, the gap between AAA and Major League pitching is big enough that maybe he doesn't get quite as many strikeouts. Also, there's the workload concerns.
Yeah,
the Pirates have been kind of babying Jones a little bit at times, and how aggressive will they be in using Skenes in his first Major League outing? Because they know he's going to be juiced up. They know he's going to be amped. You tend to get a velocity bump in those outings. So when you're already throwing 100, I don't know how much of a velocity bump you're going to get, but I'm excited for it. I will definitely have it tuned on to one of my screens tomorrow. Going out of my way to watch baseball on a Saturday in the afternoon, probably better ways to spend my day. But for Paul Skenes, I'll do it, and I'm excited to watch him.
First overall pick in 2023. Just looking at his MILB page, he's got a Strasburg kind of delivery.
Yep.
Does he still have the nasty mustache? Is he going to keep that?
Yeah.
Nice. That'll be intimidating. What do you think, Charlie?
Livy Dunn loves it. So, he's, I don't know, he's like, listen, first off, I saw the hype video and I was like, all right, I'm going to bet his over on strikeouts. And then when DeBundo said where it was, or where, I guess it opened at 5.5 juiced, which at that point I would lean to the over. And then if it gets to 6.5 plus money, probably going to take even more money, because everyone in the public's going to want to bet on Skenes, want to watch Skenes, want to do everything with Skenes. So you'd imagine he ends up being around 6.5 at even money, minus 110. I kind of agree with DeBundo, where I don't know if you can bet the over at that point, but the numbers are there. The stuff plus is 100% there. He has some of the best stuff in all of baseball. This is a guy that, I don't remember, is this the most anticipated debut of a starting pitcher since Strasburg did it?
I think so.
Yeah. So and Strasburg came in and shoved. So
I got his stat line in front of me too.
Was it 11 strikeouts, 6 1/3?
It was June 8th against Pittsburgh. He threw 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 14 strikeouts.
14. Yeah.
Yeah. Then he had 8 in his second one, and 10 in his third, and 9 in his fourth, and 7 in his fifth. So maybe we shouldn't bet the under on Paul Skenes. Now I'm a little now after reading
I'm personally I can't bet the under. It's against my like everything in my body to bet an under on a guy that has this much hype, and that's an Anthony Devondo special.
Well,
He did Ellie De La Cruz
last year.
shitting on Ellie De La Cruz.
Escalators? Are you going to take escalators on him tomorrow?
I think if you like Skenes, you have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Say, hey, like
you very much
over
do.
9.5 is going to be like 6-1. Why not?
Like,
8
wait,
to 1.
you imagine 6 innings, right? Like that's probably what he's going to get. I just look at the lineups. That's what I'll say. Cause like Devondo said, the current version of the Cubs has more swing and miss. It depends. Like Dansby Swanson is battling injury right now. So if he's out, like I think Madrigal probably comes in for him, and Madrigal doesn't strike out that much. Nico Horner doesn't strike out that much. I don't know. It's hard to also think that you can't bet the Cubs around even -110 with Steele on the mound and Skenes making his debut, and the discrepancy in probably the starting pitching right there. Right now, the offense obviously favors the Cubs, and the bullpen probably does too.
Yeah, I mean the current lineup, you mentioned it. PCA likely in center. Bush, Morel, and Amaya are all like pretty high strikeout rate guys, well above league average. That's where you start to see the strikeouts because, like you mentioned, like Herner, Madrigal. If Madrigal's in, that's a big difference. But some of their lower strikeout rate guys, are less likely to. Although Amaya, if Amaya catches today, maybe Yan Gomes is in tomorrow. That's usually the biggest thing for the Cubs is who catches, because they have a pretty big difference in strikeout rate amongst their catchers. But again, if Skenes is as good as we think he could be, it really doesn't matter at that point because he'll overwhelm even a pretty.
God, am I going to convince myself to take the over?
We'll have some fun with that. I mean, I'm going to have some time of action on the game. The hater in me wants to bet against this guy, but the stuff is so good. I really can't. Before the season, I said Jones is better than Skenes, and I have a few friends in Pittsburgh. They were like, "Who is Jared Jones?" And I was like, "You'll see who he is." And if you had told me like how Jones pitched, and then told me like preseason version of Skenes, I would have been like, "Yes, I was right." And now, after seeing what Skenes just did to AAA with this new splinker he's got going, and how good the command's been, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Skenes is better than Jones still.
Yeah,
the prospect rankings were correct. Both guys are under 22, 22 or younger.
Yeah,
so,
Skenes is 21, got drafted last year, and is in the major leagues. Like that is incredible.
He could have pitched in the major leagues. I said this last year. I was like, if the Pirates were in the race down the stretch, they could have used him in the.
Yeah,
he could have pitched in September and been fine. But
well, now I'm curious to keep an eye on possible Pirates futures if this guy shoves his first couple starts.
Nah.
No. Oh, okay.
The offense is just not coming around.
Yeah.
Let me see here. What do you think, O'Neill? Let me pull up the O'Neill Cruz current stat line. It's disheartening, really.
Plus, they also don't have like Mitch Keller's good. Martin Perez, Bailey Falter, Marco Gonzalez.
Martin Perez is a good end of the rotation guy. That's about it. Yeah, I mean the pitching's okay. So right now,
as we
WRC plus
Pittsburgh
O'Neill
Pirates.
Cruz 93. To Brian Hayes 86, and that'll do it. That's your problem. Two of your best hitters are not hitting, and they're getting Connor Joe to carry the offense. Jack Sawinski's also been terrible.
Yeah,
he has.
Sawinski blows right now.
Yeah, he's been rough. So they're not quite getting it from their offense here. Triolo has been bad. Davis got sent down. Kutch is pretty done. 79.
It's the Cubs division to lose, or I guess the Brewers.
Cubs Brewers, I think, will fight it out, but. Pittsburgh's offense just never quite, they want this core to work, and they took Davis first overall. O'Neill Cruz was highly touted, and Brian Hayes been in the league for a long time, and none of those guys have really developed to the point where you'd say they're clearly above average hitters.
Yeah.
And so it's just Brian Reynolds.
By the way, just full circle, Zerillo just took Milwaukee to Mundo, so
today,
there you go. Yep, you can join him.
-115 is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bet that as soon as we get off the show.
All right. Very good. Well, that's coming up tomorrow. Justin Steele and Paul Skenes just after 4:00 Eastern. I wish it was nationally televised, but we won't go down that road again. We did. just to hype up number 1 pick making his debut. But
You didn't know that when they probably gave the game.
I know. You're right. That's fair. But you get the choice of Reds and Giants at 7:15 on Fox, or St. Louis and Milwaukee. Freddie Peralta's pitching. That's pretty good. Tomorrow. Okay, that's it. Very good. DeBundo, thanks for everything, man. Great job. I guess if the Paul Skenes thing blows up tomorrow for you, it's not a play on at Action Network anymore. So you really got nothing to lose as far as your reputation here.
My dignity is always on the line, Brendan.
Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app. Charlie teased it earlier. He's got his 777s article and plays coming later today. DeBundo's final opening pitch is also up at Action Network. Find Sean Kerner, some of our other contributors in the Action Network Discord channel. If you haven't done so already, that's a good spot as well to gain your betting community. So again, next week, episodes are starting. We're going to do the night before. So episodes will be coming out overnight, starting Sunday into Monday for the Monday slate early next week. So again, subscribe to the podcast if you're a night owl. It works out very well for you, I think, once those are out. And we're thinking just to take you behind the curtain. We're not doing these like at midnight. These are gonna be like 9 o'clock, probably released just before midnight, possibly. I mean, I don't want to put our audio director on the spot, but something like that, I think, is the idea. So there you go. Very good. For Charlie DiSturco and for the final time, Mr. Anthony DeBundo, Brendan Glasheen, back Monday morning, Sunday night. You got the point. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast. We are presented by BetMGM. Have a great weekend. Good luck with your bets. We'll see you next time. Bye, DeBundo.